Hello and good morning, friends. Today I want to take you with me to work. We're going to be taking a look at a sewer line, right? So this particular property is under contract. They're trying to buy the house and they want to know, what does the sewer look like? Are there any roots? Are there any clogs? Is there any kind of shenanigans going on? Let's get into it. So here's the deal. This home is from the early 2000s. So we know that in that time period, almost all of the sewer lines in our area were made of regular old Schedule 40 PVC. Sometimes you'd get the green pipe, sometimes you get the white pipe, who knows? But the most common issue that we find in this area is usually clogs, or it could be compressions from the installation of the pipe. So in a moment, what we're gonna do is we're gonna get all my tools out of the truck, we're gonna go into this lovely house right over here, and we're gonna see where's the sewer line access. And then we're gonna put the camera through and see what it looks like. So I'll see you in a few seconds when I get my tools in the house. Alrighty, so we've made it into the utility room and we found our access cap, which is gonna be that guy right over there. So most homes are gonna have some kind of access to the sewer, right? You're gonna get a clog one day, it's just how that works. So it's very important to make sure that you as a homeowner know where is that pipe, all right? So in a second, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get all of my towels put out, we're gonna pop this lid open, we'll get the camera, and we'll actually see what does the sewer line look like, right? So if you're ever building a house or redoing a basement, every house is gonna have one of these pipes. It's super important to make sure that you are able to get to it, right? So this particular one's in a really good spot. It's in the utility room. It's got a big wide open area to where we can get in there. We can pop that open. We can do exactly what we need to do. Some houses, they don't do that. They put it behind the wall. Alrighty, let's go ahead and dive right on into this. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and get my channel locks, and then we're gonna go ahead and pop this lid off. So I always like to put a towel underneath of where I'm working, so that way if anything starts to splash around, or if I start getting any kind of poo water or poo all over the basement, at least it's on my towels. I also put a bucket underneath of this drain. I did not see any evidence of anything backing up in the home, nor did I see anything in the outside clean out, but it's always a good idea to have a bucket underneath of this lid because you have no idea what you're going to walk into until the lid's off. And it really kind of sucks if you pull that lid off and a whole bunch of water starts coming back at you. So you want to at least have a method of catching some of it, at least until you can get a chance to get that lid put right back on, right? Sometimes these lids will get stuck, and what you have to do is you have to tighten it a little bit, and then it'll unscrew itself. So you can see here that we've gone ahead and got the camera out. We're going to toss it down the line. Any of the beeping sounds that you hear in this video is just me kind of either taking a picture or adjusting the measurements. So if we see in the bottom left of the screen, we'll see that the distance is going to actually be measured on the pipe. So how this is calculated is going to be the rotations of the spool. So as the spool turns, it's going to count every inch and every foot that we go, and that'll kind of give us an idea of exactly how far we are in the pipe. So in this particular house, we're kind of in the middle portion of the home, and we're going out towards the front of the house. We can see here the basement toilet fixture connection point, as well as a little bit of a cobweb. So when I'm taking these pictures, what I'm trying to do is I'm making still shots, so that way when the client gets their video, they'll have something to kind of compare that video to, because I can't provide voice commentary. So as we get through there, we're going to continue on down through. We're going to see a little bit of bend, no big deal. This sewer line is made of PVC. They have no idea when the last time anybody scoped it, so this is pretty much the first viewing in quite a long time. This house was, as we discussed earlier, built in the early 2000s, so unless something went wrong, most people really wouldn't be looking at their sewer lines. I do think it's a good idea every 10 or so years to make sure that you have somebody scope the line, just in case something changed in that 10-year period. That way you have a chance to actually get ahead of it and fix whatever might be going on before you run the risk of something getting clogged and coming back to your house. Nobody wants to deal with sewage water in their basement. So as you can see here, I'm kind of fighting with the reel a little bit. So what happens is the further away you go in the pipe, the harder it gets to push, and the more bend you take, the more force you lose between each push. So sometimes what I have to do is I have to push and pull in order to get the camera to move down the pipe. So we can see here that is the connection point for the county side access. So this will be right up front. So pretty much from this point on, it's all county responsibility. In our area, generally, the closest clean out to the road is going to be what the county would maintain their system from. If there's no clean out, then it would be the sidewalk or the curb, depending on the county that you're in. Most of the core counties in Maryland, it will be the sidewalk to the road is the county's responsibility. They will also generally require a sewer clean out to be somewhere in the front yard or backyard, depending on where your sewer line is. To my understanding, most of the counties, if you don't have a clean out, won't help you, right? They'll make you kind of get your own contractor to get a sewer clean out put in, and you'll basically be on the hook for whatever that cost is going to be. If you're ever concerned about who's responsible for what in your area, it's a good idea to consider go ahead and look at the county health department website, right? So at least in Maryland, all of the health departments will have a sheet that will basically tell you who are the licensed septic installers, licensed plumbers. It'll tell you who, like what the county's responsible for, what the fees would be, et cetera, and what the response times are, right? So if you're in Baltimore County, for example, Baltimore City's Public Utility Bureau will actually maintain all of the public water and public sewer. So you have to call them, and then they're going to have like 5 or 6 different numbers depending on who you have to call, like if it's an emergency or if it's sewer, or if it's water or whatever is going on. Just make sure you call the right person, right? So we've gone ahead, we've run the camera through this sewer line. We didn't see any kind of shenanigans, just a little bit of debris. You know, the house hasn't been looked at for quite a while. So we're going to go ahead and put this cap right back on. Generally what I like to do is I like to go the wrong way with the cap until I can feel it kind of fall in place, and then we tighten it up. With these plastic lids, it's super important to make sure that you don't cross-thread them. If you do cross-thread them, you could inadvertently ruin the cap and or the fitting. And at that point, your day goes from kind of meh to, oh no. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to get this put back on. And then after we get this screwed all the way on as tight as we can, we're going to go ahead and start running a bunch of water to basically leak test this cap. Now, I am right-handed, so with the positioning of the wall and the water heater, it was a little bit more difficult for me to fit back there and still allow you to be able to see what's going on. Now you get a good old close-up shot of my belly. You know, enjoy the view as best you can. But what we're trying to do is get this thing tightened up. So I usually will get it to as tight as I can, and then I'll give it a little bit extra. And now that we've got that on there, what we're going to do is we're going to run a bunch of water, flush as many toilets as we can, and we want to see, does this thing drip, right? And the purpose of that is so that way when I leave, we don't get a phone call saying, hey, it's dripping. And then I have to go back out and tighten it up again. Not fun. So if you ever pull these caps off, it's a really good idea to make sure that you double check by doing this test, right? Sometimes these lids can pop off and break for you as you're trying to tighten them down. They're dirt cheap, so just make sure if you are removing this as a homeowner, buy an extra one just in case you do break it, right? They're dirt cheap, they're simple, you can find them at any hardware store. Alright, I think this one looks pretty good. Don't see any issues. Alright, so we just got done running that sewer line through everything, right? The camera didn't see anything super squirrely, nothing super crazy. So this person's in pretty good shape with the home that they're purchasing. Now, I would generally recommend that if you're going to be buying a house, even if it's on septic, even if it's on sewer, it's worth every penny, in my opinion, to go ahead, toss that camera through the sewer line just to see what are you working with, right? Maybe you've got good pipes like this one does. Doesn't happen often. I would say a majority of the time you find that it's going to be old terracotta pipes or cast iron lines, but it's important to make sure that you think about how old is that home, right? Depending on the age of the house will depend on what type of pipes you run into. This particular one was early 2000s, so we knew right off the bat that it's going to be PVC. Great. Confirming it, we ran the camera through because I have had houses to where they had an original home, knocked it down, left the foundation, left all the underground utilities, built a new house on top, and connected to the old stuff. I've had homes built in 2010, 2015, where you show up and you're like, huh, they've got Orangeburg pipe. What on earth is going on? Because somebody built a new house on top of it, right? I usually recommend in tandem with a sewer inspection, it's always a good idea, in my opinion, to also consider getting sewer insurance, right? There's a variety of brands out there that will offer sewer insurance, but it's a good idea to consider and go ahead, look through, see who's available, see what you're working with, and take that insurance, right? It's a couple bucks a month, it's worth every penny, and usually it'll save you from thousands of dollars in replacement costs, right? I hope that this short video was informative, useful. If you found some value in that, hit that like button, subscribe. Down below, leave a comment. Tell me, like, what kind of sewer issues have you run into? Did you have a sewer inspection when you purchased your house? I'm curious to see how often people are doing this. It feels like it's kind of picking up in Maryland, like a lot more people are doing it more and more often. So maybe that's a new thing that everybody wants to get done, but the markets change all the time, so who knows? We're here to see what happens. I hope you enjoyed. I'll talk to you guys soon. Till next time, guys.